Hey everybody. This is the spoiler version of Latter Days, the review that I did on this movie. Excuse my dogs, they're deciding that they want to play right now. I don't know why. But yeah. So this is the video that is going to contain all the spoilers. I am going to tell you how it ends. I am going to basically go through this movie from beginning to end. So if you haven't seen this movie and you plan on watching this movie and you don't want the movie ruined for you, I don't even think me telling you the entire movie can ruin the movie. It's just that great. But if you would like to watch it with no knowledge at all of what's going on or what's going to happen, then don't watch this video. If you have no intentions of watching the movie because of whatever reason, which that saddens me because this is such a wonderful movie, and you just kind of want to know what it's about to see if it's anything, well, here we go. So the movie starts off with Aaron, the Mormon missionary, as we mentioned in the other movie. Aaron, the Mormon missionary, getting off a plane, and he is in a car and he's going to somewhere. They don't really specify where he's going, but the car stops at a red light, and the car is like stopped, and it's in front of Lila's, the restaurant Lila's, which is where Christian works. That's Ramsey's character. And Christian's outside and he's serving, some customers, and he turns and he looks and he sees Aaron in the car. They make eye contact, Aaron looks away, and the car drives off. Okay, wonderful, great, awesome. Cut tape to now these 4 Mormon missionaries are moving into an apartment that had recently become vacant in the complex where Christian lives. Christian comes outside, he sees them, and he sees Aaron, and he's like, hey, we've met. And he's like, no, I've never been here before. Okay. So, Christian is, obviously very openly gay and a slut, as I mentioned in the other video. And he decides I need to go welcome these boys to the neighborhood. 4 good-looking guys moving in. Hello. And so he goes over, and that's when he realizes they're Mormon missionaries, and they wonder. Some of the conversations that the missionaries have are pretty epic. So these great one-liners. So he again is at work, and he's talking to his co-workers and his roommate who also works with him, and he's like, they're Mormon missionaries. And his other co-worker is like, oh, well, wouldn't it be funny if you converted one of them instead of them converting you? And that's where my other video kind of left. What happens from there is they make the bet. And I feel like Christian kind of went for Aaron because Aaron kind of was breaking the rules. They're never supposed to be alone. They're never supposed to use their first name. But Aaron has been alone twice now. And this would be the 3rd time that Christian has caught him alone doing laundry. And Christian goes into the laundry room. Now, that whole scene of Christian and Aaron in the laundry room is extremely vital to this whole thing. And Christian tries to make small talk with him. And he's like, oh, well, what's your name? And Aaron is like, we're not allowed to use them. And he's like, what? And he goes, we're not allowed to do a lot of things. And, he starts talking to him about that. And they start to find that they have a common love of movies, and they start quoting Psycho. And Aaron basically, talks about how, he misses his mom. And, talking about his mother, and he's not allowed to, call home or anything. And he turns to Christian and he's like, it's Aaron. My name is Aaron. So he broke another rule, told him his name. Christian at the time has a very weird. Christian is very self-centered, and Christian he took it as a bet, and he was just going to, sleep with one of them and then get the shimmering panties that they needed for proof. But I guess the Mormon missionaries wear these, weird panties, weird underwear. and he was supposed to get those for proof, go back and win the bet, and that in his mind was all he needed to do. And Aaron makes him think about his life, and tells him basically that he's shallow, and he calls him a walking, talking marshmallow heap. All pretty on the outside, but full of fluff on the inside. And all of this kind of makes Christian, rethink himself as a person. And what ends up transpiring from there is he goes out to get the mail, and Aaron again is alone, and he cuts his ass actually on like a hook for the garden hose, and he faints sight of the blood. And Aaron, wants to help him, but he can't. He starts calling for one of his other mission buddies, and they don't come because they're all sleeping. And the other two are like beating the crap out of each other in the kitchen. And so he helps him into the house because he fainted, and he's like, Christian just like whips down his pants. He's like, just look at it, I'm not gonna lunge at you. And he's got his ass at him. Aaron's cleaning it up, and he takes him and he lays Christian down on the bed, and he goes to get him a cloth, and some things happen. And they almost kiss, like they did. And Aaron doesn't do it. He just kind of lays his head down on Christian's chest, and he says, he basically is telling him, I've never had sex, I've never kissed anybody. And he goes, it's okay, it doesn't have to be anything. It can just be a little fun between friends, which is one of Christian's biggest, lines that he uses to get guys in the movie. And Aaron was like, you can equate sex with a handshake, and it, he was like, I can't believe what I almost just did, and that was when it, really changed for Christian, because now all of a sudden Aaron is like, you're a dick. Basically, you look at you use people, and you're no good. So Christian starts to try to change his ways, and he volunteers for Angel Food Network, where he meets Keith, and Keith again becomes another very big, character for the story. And Keith also makes him dig deeper down inside. And now we have Christian going through this whole self-discovery of, God, I am really self-centered and shallow and just a real putz. And everything that he ever used before to get a guy in bed wasn't working on Aaron, and it all of a sudden became a conquest to him. This was his he needed to do this to prove his worth in life, and it ended up becoming, I'm in love with him. He fell in love with it. And they end up kissing, and they get caught by the other missionaries. And Aaron, of course, gets sent home. And once Christian realizes that Aaron is sent home, he, basically physically threatens Ryder to tell him where he is. And Aaron ends up having a layover in Salt Lake City, Utah, because the weather is just so bad. And Christian flies to Salt Lake City. And when he gets there, he is running through the airport looking for Aaron. Aaron's standing outside. He had already taken off his, badge, his Latter-day Saint badge, thrown it into the garbage, because he knew what was happening. And Christian sees him standing outside in the snow, and he goes out, and Aaron is trying to explain to him, he's like, I'm being sent home in shame. You don't understand. This is bad. And Christian is still not getting it. He's still just not understanding how this can be so horrible. And, Aaron is like, I'm probably going to be excommunicated, because Christian doesn't see it as a bad thing that he kissed him. But he's also not seeing it from the point of view of Aaron, who's grown up in this, Mormon family, very strict Mormon family. His father's president of the state. He's a big wig in the Mormon church. And he grew up in this, and then his parents just wanted him to go and and do this, and this was what he was supposed to do, and all of a sudden now, it's like, I'm kissing a guy, being sent home for homosexuality, I'm being excommunicated, and you kind of can't grasp what's going on here, and why this is such an issue for me, And, Christian is just taking it all in, and he's like, you want miracles, and you want angels trumpeting down from heaven, well, what if this is it? What if this is all you get? Me telling you I love you in the snow. That's pretty miraculous. And that was just one of those moments. And he goes to walk away. He goes, you can pretend you never even met me. And he goes to walk away, and Aaron grabs him, spins him around, and they kiss again. It's at that point that, the guy, janitor, busts through the door. He says, come on in here and get out of that cold. Everything's grounded. Nothing's taken off till tomorrow morning. So they get a room, and here's where we have very graphic sex scene. Yeah, it is very graphic. It's hot, but it's graphic. And after they make love, they're talking. And Christian finally opens up. And he tells Eric some of his most kept secrets. And Aaron does the same. And Aaron has this pocket watch that he carries that was given to him by his father. They kind of talk a little bit about how weird that is that he carries a pocket watch. And they go to sleep. And Christian wakes up in the morning and Aaron is gone. And he sits down on the bed and he happens to notice the chain from the pocket watch from underneath the bed, and he picks it up, and Aaron had left his pocket watch and forgot it. And Christian goes home having won the bet, but never tells anybody. Didn't tell him. It all of a sudden didn't become a bet anymore because he wasn't having sex with Aaron, he was making love to him, and that was the difference. That was the difference. And Christian had never made love, and he even at one point in one of his times with another guy in the movie had said, haven't you ever just wanted to talk? Did you ever wanted to have sex and have it mean something? And this was when Aaron started getting into his head and started getting him thinking about things, and finally he had sex with somebody and it meant something. And he was just, very, he withdrew, and he didn't tell his friends, and he didn't say anything to anybody else. He just kind of became depressed because now he's gone. And they, his roommate, she knew. So Aaron goes home, and Aaron gets excommunicated, and he has to go before the board, and all da-da-da-da, and it brings shame to our family, and it's this whole big to-do, and Aaron ends up trying to commit suicide. He slits his wrist in the bathroom. And he's sent off to this, mental institution where they're supposed to change him or make him better. Make him not gay. And meanwhile, Christian is trying to get in touch with him. And wants to talk to him. And, he ends up calling, all of the families with that name in Pocatello, Idaho. Finally, he gets in contact with Aaron's mom. And when she realizes who he is, because she had asked Aaron before he tried to commit, she's like, what did he do to you? And he's like, he loved me. And then she told Aaron about it being a bet, which might have been the driving force behind him trying to commit suicide, because he thought that Christian was in love with him. And so when Christian finally gets in contact with his mother, she finds out who he is. And she's like, I don't have a son anymore because of you. I've lost my son. He took a knife to his wrist, or took a razor to his wrist, and I've lost my son. Christian thinks he committed suicide, and all of a sudden all that guilt and all that weight falls right here. And we see, that he didn't die. Aaron's not dead. He's just in an institution. And all of a sudden Christian becomes this very withdrawn, very depressed person. And he's carrying all that guilt. And he talks to his boss, Lila, about it. And his roommate, Julie, Christian was keeping a diary throughout, like a journal throughout the whole thing, like a collective journal. And she started taking stuff from that journal. She really shouldn't have, but she was. And what ended up happening was that she wrote a song, and she was explaining to him, you always say I should write about you, I just want you to get mad at me, yada yada yada. And he sees the video. And it's stuff from his journal, and he gets pissed. And the crazy thing is this video was playing on TV, on the TV at the institution where Aaron is. Aaron hears it. Aaron knows Julie and has heard Julie sing. And he goes running down the hall, and there's Julie's video, and Julie opens her hand, and there's Aaron's watch, pocket watch, that Christian had. And shortly after the video was made, Christian had actually taken that pocket watch to Aaron's mother in Idaho and handed it to her and apologized to her. And she went running out the door, and I think she was going to tell him that he was still alive, but she couldn't catch him. And, but Aaron sees the video, and on the bottom of the screen it says, Julie insists the video is not about her, but about her roommate. And he realizes that she's writing what's going on in Christian's life right now, how upset he is and how hurt he is, and how he can't get rid of his ghost, and he won't let go of it. And early on in the movie, before anything had happened, Aaron and his Mormon buddy were tracking, and they went to a hospital. And that's where Aaron met Lila, which is Christian's boss. And now Lila doesn't know that Aaron knows Christian, and Lila has no reason to connect the two. But Aaron comforts her. One of her best friends passed away, and he's comforting her. And she's so grateful to him that she offers him a free drink. And he's like, oh no, we don't drink. And one-liner in the movie is she's like, oh, well, you don't allow homosexuals or alcohol in your church. It's funny, I can't imagine heaven without either. 2 thumbs up for you. So she says, have a meal on me. Hands him a card. When he gets out of the institution, he ends up in front of her restaurant. He doesn't know, Christian knows her. Like, he doesn't connect Christian as being a server there and knowing her. She doesn't connect Christian as knowing Aaron. So this is how this all played out. And he goes in to get his free meal, and she comes up, she goes, my boy. She recognized him, and he's like, I was wondering if this was still good, and she goes, of course. And she sits him down at the bar, and she's like, give my friend anything he wants. And she asked, what was going on, and he said that, he had an unfortunate accident with a very sharp object, and when he went to grab his drink, she could see the tape from his arms being taped up. And before he had gone there, he had actually gone to Christian's apartment. Julie left to move to New York to be a big-time musician, and Christian subletted the apartment, so Christian no longer lived there. And a guy answered the door, and it looked like he just crawled out of bed and threw on a pair of pants, and Aaron was like, I'm looking for Christian, and the guy was like, oh yeah, Christian. No, Aaron walked away thinking that, he'd been replaced, which wasn't the case at all. And so he ends up at Lila's, and he's sitting there, and he's like, I didn't have anywhere else to go, and he explains to Lila that, his parents sent him to this place, and they were supposed to change him or make him better, or, whatever. And Christian walks out of the kitchen with a tray of food and sees Aaron standing there, and of course he drops it because he thinks he's dead. And there's just that moment where they're looking at each other, and Aaron goes, I went by your place. And Christian goes, I sublet. And they just embraced. And it's funny because as Christian is walking toward him, Lila's like, "Oh, this is my friend," and he's like, "We've met," and he's like rushing to him, and Lila walks over, and they're just embracing him like that. Like you could feel it. Like when they hugged at that moment, you could feel it. And Lila's walking away, and the guys are looking, and she leans out, and she's like, "He's a great tipper," and they're all like, "Oh," you know, and. At the end, of course, they're together and they're sitting around Lila's Thanksgiving table, and everybody's there, and him and Christian take hands. You know, he takes his hand, and it was a phenomenal story, and all of the emotion and everything that you get from it made it so worth it. It really did. There's few movies out there that can do what this one managed to do, and I really highly recommend you watch this movie for the simple fact that it's just that good. Please watch it. Let me know what you think. Definitely leave comments. And, yeah. Hope you enjoyed it.